Check your body.
Greetings and salutations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gamersledge Podcast, episode 333. Half the sign of a devil. I am your host, Mark, and joining us tonight, shaking his head at me, is Burgundy.
Hello.
Why am I calling you Burgundy? Dave, it's because you put Burgundy as your name, and so I'm now subconsciously just reading what's there.
It's actually like the name of my computer, and that just like shows up by default on there. And it used to there used to be in Zoom like a preference where you would change that.
It's still there.
And like it wouldn't. Yeah, well, it stopped working for me. Like now, not. Every time it goes in, it's reset, and I have to like redo it like quickly before I'd have like somebody sets up one of these for like a work call or something. It's very annoying.
And also joining us from Golden Hour down on the farm, it's Matt.
Howdy. All y'all up to? Hey.
Oh, please don't do that because I'll automatically slip into Ozarkian and then we'll not have anyone that can understand us at all. Thanks everybody for joining us. As always, if you have questions or feedback, feel free to put it in the chat and we will jump right on it. We have lots to discuss, so let's go through how this is going to work tonight. We're going to spend a couple minutes catching up, seeing what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks since the last podcast. Then we are going to talk about Ghost of Tsushima and our impressions of playing it, and then from there we will jump into in the last half or the last hour of the podcast, we're going to do a spoiler cast for The Last of Us Part 2, since Matt has now finished it and Dave doesn't care. We're going to go ahead and talk about that and talk about our differing opinions, our differing viewpoints, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and whether or not we feel you guys should spend your hard-earned money on it and time on it. So yeah, that's the plan for tonight. So let's start with Dave. Dave, what have you been doing for the last couple weeks?
Let's see. I bought Paper Mario, the new Paper Mario game. I have yet to be able to get a chance to actually start it. Playing a little Animal Crossing. I saw that new game drop today that I'm actually interested in. Oh God, what's it called? It's like basically kind of like you're playing.
Arian?
Yes.
I thought that's what you were talking about, but what you're basically playing the yeah, okay, carry on.
You two
So
lately have been like on this like wavelength. It's actually kind of scary because yeah, that's weird. All right. He said 2 words and you knew what he was talking about.
Well, there's very few. How many games were dropped today? First of all,
I have no
so
idea. Probably at least
I think there was
250, but
I think there was 10 on the PS well, I mean it didn't drop today, but as of Tuesday there were like 10.
all right, well, maybe a few. All right, so yeah, the game that's basically being compared to like you're playing the thing in the movie The Thing.
Oh,
So
that game. Now I know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah. So I'm very interested in that. That seems like it'd be a fun kind of side game to squeeze in the mix. Um, I caught up on some TV. I watched a show called Future Man on Hulu, and I finished that up this week. Um, real
How
funny.
many seasons of that are there?
3,
3?
and
Okay.
the third one definitely wasn't long. I think it was only like 8 episodes, and I'm trying to remember how many episodes were in each season at this point. The first couple seemed a little bit longer than the third season. Like I seemed like I got through the third season really fast, so thinking that one might have been shorter. Um, Reasonably funny show. They had a lot of great gags in it. Um, Surprising amount of character arc, kind of stuff happening in a show like that.
I mean, let's be
Work.
fair. It is a dumb show, right? It is not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
highbrow humor or anything like that. It is a dumb show, and
It's not highbrow humor, but it goes there sometimes.
it has its moments, and
Yeah,
it's
it definitely
enough
has its
that
moment.
yeah, I actually really enjoyed the first couple episodes I watched, and it just kind of fell off the radar because I forgot it existed again. So
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. Like I watched a couple and then I like fell off and I was just like, all right, I got to start like trying to accomplish stuff, when it comes to shows. So let me like watch some stuff. And so I got through that. It's worthwhile.
the episode titles are at least amusing.
There's
so you
But it's
haven't explained what it is.
okay.
So
So
13 episodes in season 1 and 2, by the way, and then
okay,
8 in season 3.
so that makes sense. Um, it's basically kind of like mix The Last Starfighter with a lot of penis jokes.
that is
And
but it's
and
not
ultra
it's not just the last Starfighter. It's the last Starfighter Back to the Future and a lot of peanuts jokes.
right. Anything actually it messes with like Terminator, anything that's done time travel,
Yes.
kind of thing they play with, and they really do some fun stuff with it. Like it's there's a moment in season 3 where they pull a stunt, or no, is it season? I think it's toward the end of season 2. Yeah, it's the end of season 2. They pull a stunt. It was really witty and really funny, and also very horrible at the same time. The show goes into a lot of like crazy violence, um, but it's like very like humor kind of violence. So it gets kind of crazy. Worthwhile show. I had fun. It's it's not totally turn your brain off, but it's like it show's got a lot of good moments. I think it makes it worthwhile.
Billy Joel Osment, isn't it? Is he a reoccurring or is he a main?
He's sort of a main, like he's a reoccurring, and then shows up like a lot, as the show goes on.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's in it. It's definitely worthwhile. Um, yeah, I recommend it. It's a fun show. We also saw a morning show. I don't think anybody really cares about
Yeah.
that. It's not really geeky or anything.
Well, no, but I mean, what did you think of it? Because I've heard mixed reactions.
As far as like the people like in the show, yeah, it was like very well acted. Like all the characters in it are all like, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in the show, and but everybody does a really good job. And Jennifer Aniston does a great job. Steve Carell does a great job. The one guy that was in what you call it? The one guy that was in The Watchmen. I always forget. It's always funny whenever I'm watching a TV show or something. I'm like, where do I know that guy from? It's always the movie version of Watchmen. Always. It's the weirdest thing, and it's just like anytime I'm looking for somebody, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy was in Watchmen. Okay, and I don't know what
Escaping
it
you at the
is.
moment, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of really good characters in it. Batman Wells in it, so I always love when he shows up and gets work. Batman Wells is right.
I don't. I'm just nodding so we can carry on.
That's a shame.
I should know who Batman
Do you remember?
was.
Okay, in the mayor in the Nolan Batman movies.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vaguely.
So not only was he the mayor of Gotham in the Batman movies, he was also the spoof Batman in the original Tick series.
That Batman. Well, yes, I'm with you
Right.
now. Yes.
Right. When they couldn't call him when they lost the lawsuit to call him Deflator Mouse.
Right. Right.
Right.
So for the live action show, they just called him Batman Well.
Okay then.
It was the greatest, legal FU I've ever seen on TV. It was just awesome. But he was like, a womanizing version of Batman. It was hilarious. So I always love when he shows up and, gets work. I thought it was a decent show. I hope that's it. Like, I hope they don't sit there and try and squeeze like another season out of it. I think it ended really well, and leave it at that. So that was neat. Pretty high production values on the Apple stuff. I didn't know what to expect going into that. My wife has a free year of it because of because of her phone, so she just decided to try it out. So I'm like, hey, why not? So that's good. What else? Almost caught up on Doom Patrol, but I had to put my kid to bed and read him a bunch of books and everything, so I didn't catch up on that this week. That show's been amazing. Still.
Oh God, that's on Disney Plus, and I need to watch it.
No, it's on HBO.
Yeah.
Max.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on one of the streaming ones I have, and I haven't watched it because I keep forgetting that it's on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you got HBO Max, it's on there now, and it's definitely worthwhile watching. This season's been nuts. Yeah, Cliff is just my favorite.
He's
awesome.
pretty good.
Yeah. The last episode ended, I was just like, what?
Why is it that characters with the name Cliff seem to be very prevalent as to getting over on TV shows? There's not many of them, and they're almost always popular when they are.
That's kind of interesting.
I can only think of two: Cliff Clavin and
Cliff Clavin.
Clifford, the big red dog.
Well,
not really.
I mean, maybe he's not popular now, but Cliff Huxtable was America's dad at one point.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many Cliffs, but when there are, they're very popular.
Yeah. The
Huh. Secret key to Hollywood.
Who knew?
What are
Apparently, I
you
did.
playing with?
What's
Yeah,
that?
what are you doing?
I may
Because
be building
you are
Lego.
not focusing on what
No,
you're doing.
I am
Yeah, you're
focusing, but I
focusing on the
was
Lego stuff, not the
no, that
podcast.
is I totally focused on the podcast. You were derailing with this cliff conversation, so I'm just kind of like going with it and looking for the peace while it's happening. I'm letting it happen. It's all right. It's all good. Everything's working.
What
The
else did you watch?
what else was there? I thought there was almost caught up on wrestling. I didn't catch up on this week for
Holy
AEW.
crap! So
I heard it was good.
Oh, time for me to take a nap.
no,
This
no,
is gonna be
no,
a while.
nope. You're not. It's not. It's not going to be a while.
It's
Just
all fine. It's all
it
fine.
was a good. It was a good episode, and I how my only question for you to follow this up is how familiar are you with the indie wrestling scene today?
The current, not very.
Okay, so you probably don't know who Warhorse is.
I mean, I've heard the name, but I'm
Yeah.
not
Okay.
familiar.
So I don't. I mean, like he has a somewhat unique gimmick. Think of Ultimate Warrior meets the body of a indie guy today, crossed with a metalhead, and that's
Sure.
Warhorse. Yeah, I mean,
I'm good with that.
yeah. So he's going to be fighting Cody on Monday or on Wednesday for the Open Challenge.
Wait, I thought that was supposed to be this week.
Yeah, I did too, but it wasn't. And you will very much like who challenges this week. FYI.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to catch up on that. Hopefully catch up on that like tomorrow night or something like that.
And I don't know if I've extended this offer to you, but we are doing a recap at 10:30 your time on Wednesdays, which I know you have a hard time catching it live most of the time. So, but
Yeah.
you're always welcome if you do somehow manage to watch it live and want to join us for the recap. You can.
Oh, definitely do that.
Lexi is becoming more comfortable speaking on the microphone, even though I have to like yell at her to get to the mic because she has like a 5-year-old's voice that's very quiet.
Nice.
And we've discussed this. It's not like I'm not saying anything bad about my wife. She just has a very soft voice that's very high
Yeah,
pitched.
it's true.
And so she's got to pretty much eat the microphone for anybody to hear her. But she's
Well,
getting
what was it? The other. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was to say the other night when we were doing Divinity, I thought it was one of Ken's kids when she was.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much yeah. So yeah, Banner
And,
says Banner says join the Dark Order. But I need to ask this, and I promise it will be the last time I do a wrestling thing other than for my recap, Matt.
Oh, that's fine.
Are you watching BTE, Dave, being the elite on the YouTube channel?
I'm not. You told me about that the other week, and I know they like mentioned on the show and stuff like that. So I was like,
The
not
last
really.
3 weeks, the Dark Order have been comedy gold on BTE.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like I need to like watch that in order because like I was really like I'm not digging it like just watching the shows, and then when you said that I'm like, all right, so there's a lot of ancillary material
Yeah.
that I'm missing that like probably makes them more worthwhile. So,
John Silver is like one of the funniest people I've ever seen as a wrestler who most of the time isn't trying to be. And they're always on the verge of cracking themselves up, but just barely containing it. So it adds something to it. But yeah. Oh,
nice.
Banner says he meant join the Dark Order for the recaps on Wednesday nights because he also does it with us.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
No, that sounds like I can, something. Even if I don't sing it, I can catch up like while I'm on there. So
that's true. Okay, so
I could be like live watching it while you're doing the recap.
well, we go a little faster than the actual matches. But yeah, Lexi's kind of been annoyed with me as we've been watching for the last couple weeks because now I'm taking notes during the show so that I can do the recaps. And she's like, "You're not interacting with me as much." I'm like, "I don't swear at the camera. That's you." What is this? What was that thing you were waving at the camera?
It was an AIM soldier.
Advanced idea mechanics.
Yes.
That's cool.
It is.
Anything else you watched or played?
Comics. I've been reading comics again. So I've been reading the DC Metal series.
That's a good place to start. How are you enjoying it?
So, I'm digging it. Like, it started off a little weird. Like, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna dig this. But once it got rolling, I was just like, okay, I'm in it.
So one of the interesting things I don't think it was in Metal, but it's in the main continuity right now, is Lois Lane just broke a story that is probably going to be the story of her lifetime. And that is, she figured out, because people have been having these weird flashbacks and memories to things they never did or have done. And it turns out that she figured out, amongst everyone in the multiverse, that the universe has been reset 3 times. And people are actually seeing into their past lives. And then she broke the story to the world that's what's happening.
Oh, that's funny.
It is. And so now it's like she's single-handedly reconciling like the last 3 reboots. It's kind of interesting.
So is this going into, like, I'm all over the place, just bits and pieces of, like, I'm not up on the continuity of anything anymore. But I remember hearing they were doing like a 3 Jokers story. Was that already done?
So I think it's in process, and I keep forgetting to go read that Greg Miller Joker book that just came out, because for some reason I had thought that was part of it for some reason.
Like, I thought I saw something of, like, it's happening now, or they're just starting it or something like that.
Yeah,
but I remember reading about it like years ago. Like, they were talking about, like, they teased something about, Batman was on the chair, do with the chair,
the Mobius chair.
Yeah, who's on the chair? Metronome.
No, Metronome. Yeah, you're right.
Is it a metronome? Okay,
I'm pretty sure. It's Metronome.
So yeah, he was on the chair and was just like, there's 3 of them, and like that was it. Like, they just dropped it after that. I didn't know what was.
I wonder if the Joker, that Batman Who Laughs killed, was one of them.
Well, it looked like when they did the reveal thing, like, it was like 3 of the regular, like 3 of the Jokers that, like, we've kind of seen.
Yeah.
Like, the style of them, was like the classic, the 90s, like the Killing Joke one, and like one of the others.
Yeah, well, apparently somehow the Killing Joke has come back into continuity. So there's a bunch of stuff going on because of the whole source wall thing, which is how the Metal universe, I guess, is being played out as trying to merge with this. Yeah. So anyways, I'm really kind of interested in it, but I'm waiting till it's done to read most of it, but I keep reading certain issues here and there because I can't do it. It's kind of like the Marvel stuff. Like, I'm waiting for the Incredible Hulk run to be done now so I can go back and get all the trades. Or sorry,
the Immortal
Hulk. No, it's not Immortal Hulk, is it? I thought it was.
Yeah, it's Immortal Hulk.
I thought it was a horror name.
Yeah, no, it is. It's the Immortal Hulk. That is the horror.
Don't mind me. I'm having a stroke. Yeah.
That's okay.
As
I know, I've got 30 some issues of it under somewhere.
Because I've read bits and pieces, but I haven't read the whole thing, and so I really want to go back and start that.
It just started a new arc.
But 50's the end, wasn't that what they said? Was it 50
or was
it
projected was supposed to be 50? I don't know if they're sticking to that or not, but I know they're launching Immortal She-Hulk in the fall. So,
really? I thought that was a one shot.
Thought they said it was a series, but I'd have to go back and check. Maybe I'm wrong.
I could be wrong.
Who knows? Who knows these days?
Everything's in such flux these days.
Everything changes pretty quick. I feel like I feel bad. Like you feel like with the popularity of the movies and stuff that the comics industry would just have gotten a huge boost out of it. And it's like I feel bad because it seems like they're still doing a lot of really good stories, but like people just don't care like overall. I mean, like for instance, like me, like I'm reading comics, but I'm reading it through DC Universe subscription. So it's
Yep.
like, do
You're.
they?
Oh, sorry.
Is that am I actually supporting comics that way, or am I contributing to their demise? I don't even know at this point.
Well, I
You
mean,
know,
at least that's going into Warner Brothers' pockets for now, until somebody buys them.
yeah, or they sell off another thing because they're.
Right.
I guess that's in the news. I'll talk about it now.
You were saying, Matt?
So you were right. The Immortal She-Hulk is a one-off fallout of Empire.
Okay. Yeah. Which Empire is going on, and
Yep.
now and then friggin' the X-Men of the Swords crossover is just
The
starting.
Sword of X.
Yeah, Sword of X.
Sword of X.
Is it Swords of X?
Hickman's names for stuff, man.
Awful.
And that's and then I posted a story on the website
X of
today.
Swords.
X of Swords, yeah. I posted a story on the website today because, well, I'm sorry, I'm derailing. I'll let you. Anything else?
Isn't this what we do? Like,
Yeah,
we just,
it is what we do. But I just
We do have
posted
to
a
stay a
thing.
little on topic.
Yeah, because we've got a couple things to
It's
cover.
this is supposed to be a conversation among friends, is it
It
not?
is, it is, it is. But I
This is what
posted a
friends
thing
do.
today that it has Cable dating all five of the Stepford Cuckoos at the same time,
Yeah,
which that's not that like sure whatever I don't care about that part of it. What's messed up is that Cable is the son of Scott Summers and Jean Grey, and the Stepford Cuckoos are clones of Emma Frost. So like father like son.
sure.
That's the
Isn't
part.
she technically Madeline Pryor was a clone of Jean Grey?
Yeah,
Right, but I believe Cable is actually Scott Summer and
Was it actually
Jean
Jean?
Grey's.
Because
I think it's
I thought it
actually
was
Jean.
or no, it's Rachel as Madeline.
Rachel is Madeline.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, Rachel's Madeline. Jeez, that.
Yeah.
Durr.
You need a flowchart, which I've actually made in my lifetime because I needed
I
one.
just remember when they first revealed like Cable's name, they were just like Nathan Dayspring, and I'm like, you mean he's Scott's kid? Like they're not even being trying to hide it.
No. No.
That was the worst secret ever. It was just like Dayspring, really. Yeah,
Well, and then the interesting thing to me is now they have this rule on Krakoa to make more mutants. Like that is an established rule. And there ain't no mutant power to do that, so we're seeing some real interesting like the love triangle between Scott and Wolverine and Jean is no longer like behind closed doors kind of thing. So sure.
Okay,
Whatever.
so that okay. Uh, I used a word to describe. So I read the House and the Powers books, and I really liked them. And then when they switched
Yeah.
into the regular books, it turned into like 30 books, and you had to read them all to have any clue what was going on.
Welcome to the
And
X-Men.
yeah, and then the main book just had this really weird vibe to it. And I used a word to describe it to somebody, and they're like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, I don't know. It was just really creepy under this weird veneer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now thinking that was intentional. I thought it was just me, but
No,
I guess
I
that
think
was
so.
intentional.
Yeah, and I guess so. I guess Scarlet Witch. Like you're not keeping up on it right now, are you, Matt?
No,
Okay,
I
so
might
I
someday, but not now.
I guess Scarlet Witch wanted to do something about what she did on M Day, which is depowering all the mutants, or the majority of mutants.
Most of them.
Most of them. And so apparently she went to Genosha because counseled with Doctor Strange and felt she could do something about that, and tried to bring all the Genosians that got killed in the Civil War back, and instead Marvel zombied them.
That's what the
And
new Marvel Zombies series is coming out of.
I'm guessing, but the thing about it is that the Genosian mutants are on the to-do list for rebirth on Krakoa. So what's going to happen when they do that? Right? Can they do that if those other people exist? Will we have both the normal versions and the zombie versions? So
Sure?
what did you say?
I said sure?
Sure, yeah, I don't know. But this is apparently tying into Empire, because apparently oh god, I can never remember the name of the race. The bad guy race in this.
Which
Shiar?
one?
No.
Oh,
The
well,
Shi'ar and no, it's the
the
Kree.
Kree or the Skrulls?
Yeah, the Kree and the Skulls have banded together, and it starts with a
The
C.
Kakoi.
The Kakoi, yes. So the Kakoi land on Genosha to use it as a base of operations because they expect it to be empty, and instead they have the mutant zombies there. So now Scarlet Witch's oopsie is going to be out of the bag, and will there be repercussions from that? And she is like not a good person.
She tries.
She's a fine person. She's just not good at what she does.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And is she back to being a mutant now, or is she still some
She is
weird
back to being
semi-inhuman experiment of the high evolutionary?
Oh,
blah,
God.
blah, 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 blah.
This is what got me out of Marvel in the first place. Like, it just...
Okay, so Dave, did you play or watch anything else? 32 minutes later, we're never going to make the spoiler
No,
cast. Right.
we're done. I'm good. It doesn't
Okay.
even matter if I
Matt.
get anything.
Been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, trying to say Tsushima right and put the emphasis on the right syllable.
Nice.
Tsushima.
A lot of that. I'm still in the first act. This game is huge. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely deserving of the reviews and the sales love that it got.
I suppose that since you're talking about it now, this is where we should do our impressions on it.
Sure.
Anything? Okay.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, aside from what I said already, it's very it's surprisingly very sucker punch. It's not when you first see it and you don't see it, but all of a sudden you try to jump up a cliff and those jumps up the cliff look exactly like how Cole jumped. And Mitchell actually pointed out when they do the little painted sequences for the legendary missions, those are exactly how they did the flashback things for Cole. And and it's like there are actually a lot of very sucker punchy things
Fingerprints
in the game. Fingerprints, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely their game. I had to switch to English voice acting because things were going on in the game and I would lose track of the subtitles and it was annoying me. So I had to switch to English. The English, I think it is really, really well done. All of the voice actors, all the motion caption, it was all, Japanese or Japanese descended individuals. So, they are at least most of them. I don't know all. I guess I shouldn't say all. Most of them. The main.
So this is a fun fact, not a positive or a negative for the game. But I noticed and started double checking it, and I was right. They are using modern Japanese for a 12th century game, which is not
nobody would understand,
right, because no one
Japanese.
would understand 12th century Japanese, and that's why I was like, wait a minute, I was expecting like at least some, right, like a couple words here and there, but the way that so the only piece of ancient Japanese that I know is a samurai farewell, and that is Saraba de Gozaro. And if you ask most Japanese, most of them will not understand it. But if you go to scholars, which I happen to have been lucky enough to talk to, they actually will understand it. So I expected something like that out of that, but no, it's all standard Japanese. And so I'm like, well, great, everybody's at least going to be able to understand it, because when the emperor at the end of World War II gave his surrender speech, like most of the country could not understand 50% or more of it. So that I was just chuckling over that fact, and Ken and I were talking about that as we were playing separately, but kind of bouncing the stuff off each other together. So I thought that was this kind of interesting. It's not a plus or a minus; it just is. And
No, yeah,
by the way, since you turned off the Japanese voice acting is freaking phenomenal. It's really good.
it sounded great while I was listening to it, but I don't understand Japanese, so I'm not a solid guess of that. But I mean, based on what I've heard by watching anime and subtitled movies, it sounded really good. I mean, and from what I saw, heard of both voices, it's not one of those where you'll have like the voice in one is one way and then the voice in the other is a different way. They seem to be pretty much par for par. How they the people that they selected to do the voices, similar tones and timbres and styles,
Yeah,
rather than having really radically different styles.
I have noticed that some of the subtitles are off slightly, but that's a in. I mean, Japanese when you translate it is kind of interpretive, anyways. But
Yeah.
it's nothing like
And I'm
nature.
sure the subtitles are actually the English script. I'm sure that's
Yeah,
what
I'm
it
sure it
is,
is. Yeah.
so, and it is lip synced to English. So it's kind of weird because you're watching it in the Japanese language, but the lip flaps aren't quite right. So you kind of
Which
got
is
that inverse
yeah,
thing
it's the
going
opposite
on.
of what you would normally see in a yeah, exactly.
But no, it's got some very video gamey things about it. But it is a video game, right? It's not meant to be a super hard game. They're definitely you'll die easily. I mean, it's not hard to die in the game. But it's also not like super punishing. So it's not like you lost all your progress and you got to go back 3 hours. You basically just pick up where you died and try again, right? It's
I can't tell you the number of times that I think I'm going to jump over a small rise or something, and nope, that was a cliff, and
that was a massive cliff.
I accidentally jumped off the front of my horse down the 250-foot sheer drop. Yes, that happens
Yeah,
often. Not
I've
like
I've had
often, but enough that
I've
it's a
I've
thing.
had some button confusion. Like I don't know how many times I've walked in front of a door and hit X and jumped in front of it
Mm,
rather than open the door. And man, does he go through doors quick? Holy cow! And nobody goes through doors two at a time. Nope, it's shoop, shoop, and then
yep,
shoop, shoop.
yep. Um,
Um,
I,
Loading times are amazing. I don't know
yeah.
how they streamlined that well. It is amazing.
Well, I mean,
The
it's the end of life for the system. I mean, they have to have something figured out by now.
Yeah,
well, let me tell you, the whole game looks like an end of life. They figured something out system,
yeah,
because it is. I like to say it is a delicious, light, airy Japanese cream puff. That's what this game is. It is not. It is not like the story is serious, but it is not oppressive.
dark.
It's
Right.
not
Yeah.
dark. It is. I mean, it is kind of dark, depending on what path you go down. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about with you, Matt, is how are you playing the game? So this is not a spoiler. This is literally in the name. It's the Ghost of Tsushima, and you choose to either be an honorable samurai or a dishonorable kind of assassin, which they are referring to as a ghost.
Right. Um, so I'll tell you this: Mitchell is 100% Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Keegan is 100% Samurai,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the Gray Jedi. I
Okay.
whatever fits the situation best to get the job done. Most of the time, I will, unless it's a massive town that you can tell is obviously set up for stealth. I'll generally just go in and do a challenge, take out my first three guys because I bought that skill
Mm-hmm.
out,
Which is
and
great.
then yeah, and then you finish that out. So if you don't know, if there's a showdown, you can challenge enemies to a showdown, and it's basically a one hit kill, and you can get up to three enemies on that based on a timing
Which they
sort of thing.
don't explain, but I very much appreciated because I know the backstory. The thing about the samurai code is you cannot do a sneak attack. You must
Right.
announce yourself, announce your intentions, and then engage in honorable combat. And they never explain it in the game. It's just an optional button press for you if you choose to go that route. And I wish
Well,
they
they
would
do.
have
I mean, they
explained it.
kind of do because when he's a kid with his uncle in the flashback, they talk about in Samurai Kills with Honor, you look your enemy in the eye, and so they touch on it. They don't call
But
it out quite literally.
there are certain things that are wrong with the game in that respect. Like, for example, if there's two of you and the guy turns his back to you, it is not dishonorable to stab him in the back. That is not dishonorable. You
Right.
engaged in honorable combat. What happens in the combat is fair game.
It's fine.
But a lot of times, so I'm doing the samurai playthrough. I'm not using any dirty tricks. I'm not doing any assassinations. I'm not doing any of that stuff. And yet the game still treats me as if I am
Like you
in the
have, yeah.
cutscenes. Yeah, and it's a little frustrating because it's like
Yeah, I got that with the archery sensei. Was it Ichigawa? Is that his
which
name?
again makes no sense because the first thing Ichigawa does is show you how
Just
to
teach you
use
how
your
to snipe with the
environment
bow.
and snipe with the bow. It's like that is not okay. You're setting up a double standard here, guys. But whatever. That's so nitpicky that it's not even worth mentioning for the most part.
Yeah, and it looks like they originally set up where they were going to do a light dark path and actually track like what you did, and it seems like they kind of gave that up in favor of just telling a story.
Yeah,
And
which I
so that's why
appreciate.
I'm doing the gray approach, because really how they're playing the story up, not really spoilers, maybe a little bit if you really just skip a couple seconds, but they're really setting it up that your honor is based on defending your people, right?
Right,
So
right,
whatever it takes to defend your people, it may not be the style you learned, but it's still in his mind an honorable thing to be doing.
right, right. And
But yeah, no, it's okay. Color and name of horse.
color, I went with the pre-order special horse. So
Okay,
I think
not
it's
familiar
the
with that one.
tan one, if I'm not
Okay,
mistaken. The light tan one, which is not what I wanted. I wanted the dark one, but what am I going to do? It's supposedly the best horse, so I took it.
right.
And name is exactly what you would have predicted for me to take the name as. Even though it's not my favorite Square Enix game, it is a Square Enix game.
You
So I
did go
took
with
it.
Sora.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are the only person I personally know that I've talked to that has not picked Nobu.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I took Sora. And then what was the other choice? Because
Shadow.
no, 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 no. There were two choices, and they both had Square Enix names in them, and I can't remember what it was.
Okay. Maybe there's multiple different choices, or maybe because you had a higher edition than you had more choices. The three choices I had were Nobu,
No, no. Yeah,
Sora, and Shadow.
right. Those are the same, but I swear there was another choice tree that you had before that where you had to pick something else, and I can't remember
Just
what
the
it was.
color. All I had was the color,
I
and
don't know
mine
that it
was
was the
Dapple, black
horse.
and white.
Yeah, I don't know that it was a horse related choice,
Oh,
but I
okay.
thought at the beginning of the game there was another choice that had another Square Enix name in it. It was, yeah, because I picked Cloud. I picked Cloud, and then the second choice was Sora, and I'm trying to remember what the heck that choice was. Ken, do you remember? Or
I don't
Banner, do you
remember.
remember what that was? Let us know in the chat if you do.
Sure, it wasn't like
Uh,
Becky Green or something like that.
No, there was a. I'll see if I can find it while you're talking about you.
He doesn't. But so yeah, I'm still. I don't know how long the once you get to the event that I'm building up toward now. I don't know how much longer the game is after that. I don't even know how many hours I put into the game now, but it's a lot. And in theory, I'm still in the first third of the game. So yeah, and then the experience trees plays out pretty much like if you've played a modern action RPG. The ability trees are just like that. As you gain experience levels, you get points. You put points into whether you want it to be your stances, which I have done almost none of. My stances are like my most basic thing. I put points into everything else but stances. I have all four stances unlocked, but I haven't unlocked any, I don't think, of their advanced moves. Um, but there are
Banner.
a lot of systems going on.
Oh, Drogodan says howdy, and Banner says he went 50-50 halfway through Act 1, and then full ghost the rest of the game. Oh, and that was, yeah, I noticed that, Ken, that is not loading. I'll refresh it here in a second. I was fighting some guys at the first sensei's, the archer sensei's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we were close to the side of his building, and I actually knocked the guy through the rice paper wall.
Nice.
And I was like, holy crap. And so now I just gained the third stance, and that third stance has the pump kick. And and so now I am pump kicking people off of walls, cliffs, ledges, and it is the most satisfying damn thing I've done in a long time.
Mitchell did a thing yesterday where he climbed up one of those archery towers with a whole slew of Mongolians following him. And as they got up the top of the ladder, he just picked them off the platform. They get back up and climb back up the platform. He just kept picking them off. Fortunately, there weren't any archers left, so he didn't have to worry about that. But that was kind of hilarious when he did that. There are a few weird bugs in the game, like you can defeat an enemy and they'll like fall halfway through an object, and then you can't get whatever it is that what their drop is, whether it's kunai or supplies or whatever. I've had that happen several times.
It's always fun.
Yeah, but you know, to be fair, this is not yes, this is not a resource scarce game.
Except for supplies. I am scrapping for supplies at this point.
Dude, I don't know how, because I am constantly at 500 supplies, and then I'll upgrade something. I'm at 0 for like a little bit, but then I'm back up again.
At the point I'm at now, 500 doesn't even buy a single upgrade.
Right? No, I know. I was just giving an example.
But yeah, no, I'm maxed out on wood. I'm maxed out on bamboo. I'm maxed out on except for the rare ones like silk and steel and stuff like that. But I'm maxed out on everything else except supplies. Supplies is basically gold in this game. It's the currency.
Okay, so let's get
through.
No. I just want to say, short version from your impressions so far, with everyone understanding that this is not a final review. Should they invest their discretionary money and time into this game?
Yes, if you like story-driven action adventure games with lots of RPG elements, definitely. If not, if you're only a shooter game guy, you're not going to enjoy this. Or gal. But if you like story-based games that with really, really pretty environments and some pretty brutal sword combat, then it's definitely worth your time.
And I will illustrate that you can turn off the blood if that's a thing for you. That is an option that they have in there.
I don't know why you would.
I don't know why you would either, but
amazing good blood spatter in it.
Or you can play in Kurosawa mode, and then it's black and white blood. Although Banner is playing right now in Kurosawa mode, and he said the different colored alerts on their incoming strikes are all white, so he can't tell which ones he can block and which ones he can't. Yeah, so he's like, that's a little off-putting sometimes. But yeah, we were laughing about that the other night when he started his playthrough. And he says his weird bug was that he jumped on a tent and then was teleported outside the camp. Yeah, and I've actually had a couple of those before. To be fair, that is actually a great way to handle out of bounds exceptions, because most of the times I got stuck on something, and then after a couple seconds it just ported me outside of the current zone I was in. So rather than me getting perma stuck there, they detected that there was something wrong and just ported me instead. So I kind of appreciated that.
Kind of nice, actually. I haven't gotten stuck on anything, although I have jumped my horse off of a cliff a few times and gotten thrown into weird positions that it took me a sec to get out of. But
the funny part is that the horse survives.
Yeah, no, it looks like all of its legs break and then it just gets back up and like, I'm
Yep.
fine.
Okay. What else did you play or watch?
I've watched the first episode of Letter to the King, something like that. Seems like a fun little show. I'll pick it up somewhere along the line and finish it. We watched Bloodsport because the boys had never seen a single JCVD movie, so
Wow.
Wait,
we
you're talking
started.
He's talking old
like the
school. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I just watched that like the other month, and it was just as good as I remember.
It
Um,
is great. It it is funny, especially from their perspective, not having seen a lot of that era of action movies. How much better play fighting has gotten in in the recent years because it is so obvious the when some of those guys are not even coming close to hitting. But it's still fun. And it's it, they they did get a kick out of the thing.
what the hell is a dim Mac? Oh god, that guy is my favorite.
Yeah, that
I
was
always loved him in movies. He
yeah,
was he was like on. I remember first time I saw him was I mean, I guess it would have been what did I see first? Revenge of the Nerds or HBO's First and Ten?
God, I would hope Revenge of the Nerds.
Well, because HBO's First and Ten was like also in the 80s. And I probably didn't see Revenge. I didn't see Revenge of the Nerds in the movies. I would have saw it on HBO. So, like, I might
I
have saw that after.
I saw it on Laserdisc.
Oof, we're old.
We're
But
super
the,
old.
but yeah, I loved him in that movie. It was awesome.
yeah, he just appears in lots of random places.
Yeah,
So we did that, and then really that's been about it. A lot of Ghost of Tsushima, a little bit of Dead Cells. Unfortunately, the latest update for Dead Cells finally hit PS4, and not super thrilled with a lot of the changes. But basically, that's just because it completely broke my meta build.
yeah. It sounded like they did a lot of stuff. Like I was trying to read the notes of it. I was like, wow, this game has added a lot since I last played.
Yeah, and they basically what they did is they took all the meta builds that people were playing to cruise through the game and mess stuff
Nerfed
up,
them.
and they nerfed it all. So it's like, oh yeah, you like that build? Fine, here it's dead now. Go figure something. Like the fact that you now crossbows are now two-handed, so you can't use a shield and a crossbow at the same time is like, that really kills a lot of the utility of the crossbow. But I'll
Yeah,
either get better at rolling or figure out something else to do.
I'm always curious when they do that stuff with games because, like, isn't like part of the fun is just like, eventually, like, doing something to like exploit it and just kind of like, rampage. But you got to earn it. Like, it's not like you can just like get that right off the bat. Like, you have to do stuff to earn it. So I always like kind of like wondered like why I mean, unless it's game breaking, and it just
Yeah,
kind of like people just figured out a good way to go through, and it was just one way to go through. Like, you don't have to
yeah,
do that.
right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, the only
when
problem is
you
I
have
was just ready to do my first boss cell play, start building up on that because I've been playing in the normal modes up till now, and of course now they messed everything up. So now it's like all my skills are wrong. So
Nice.
yeah.
sorry, Mark. Go
Uh
ahead.
no, I was just going to say that if it's I'm still not sure how I feel about speedrunning because a lot of times that's you know, exploiting things that the developers never intended, like being able to jump up into the ceiling because they left a gap in the ceiling and being able to
Yeah,
jump
and
up into
this
the
wasn't
ceiling
any.
and run through them. Yeah.
This wasn't any of that. This was just a really good combo.
Yeah. So
Of
then I don't know why
the
they got to nerf that.
Yeah, it's
but
using systems in the game, and also it's like not guaranteed you're going to get the stuff.
right.
Like the way I mean, unless they change that kind of stuff. But
No, that definitely hasn't changed. I mean, because I knew what I was going for early on, I'm only unlocking as much as I need to so that my chance of getting it in a roll is a lot higher than it would have been otherwise. But it's still you have to keep unlocking stuff to get the higher level flasks and stuff. So eventually you're diluting your pool anyway. So
yeah,
Let's see. For mine, or did you have anything else? I thought you said you were done, but I
We're
wasn't
good.
sure.
We're good.
Okay. We've been watching. I'm going to start with watching and then play. Watching Supergirl, Titan Games, which they're coming into their home stretch. AEW Dynamite, obviously we talked about. I did not get to watch Dark this week, but next week is supposed to be a stacked Dark, and it has a bunch of matches that I want to watch. There's like 12 matches on it, Dave. So you might want to try and
Mm-hmm.
find some time to watch that on Tuesday or something if you can.
Sure.
We watched Hamilton again because it's amazing. I've also been watching. I did a YouTube hole one of the days this week where I fell down a hole watching a channel
Waves.
called what?
Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
That might that's cool.
Watched a channel called Man Shorts, which is all about different. It's it's about using D&D as the medium to play different things. Like they have a Florida edition or a Canadian edition or a military edition, which I think would resonate with you pretty well, Matt. They have like customer service editions where they're, you know, exactly like you like working at a call center, and they use D&D as the medium. It's pretty good. I watched a bunch of those. That took me like 4 or 5 hours. And then watched John Oliver this week, and that's pretty much it for television.
Is that
Play
Marvel behind you, or is your camera
it's
just really seriously
no
wigging out?
it's Marvel. He can't figure out where he wants to park, and Marvel bed. Go on. There you go. Now he's glitched out of existence. Let's see. I played Ghost of Tsushima. I did not get to play as much as I would have originally planned to because Lexi went into the hospital last week. Luckily, she's okay. But we thought she was having a heart attack, so that was a pretty big scare. But she had an infection, and they pumped her full of antibiotics, and eventually sent her home. But I lost pretty much the entire weekend for that, so I'm way behind everybody else, including Matt. This is such a weird turn of events because Matt's like way farther than I am on a game, so that's really weird. And Ken's already done and platinumed.
How is that possible?
Wow.
I don't
No, no,
understand.
no, no. What was crazy was the people that by the end
Like
of the
the
first weekend had platinumed it,
yeah,
and but
that's
yeah,
insane. I don't
but
understand how that's even possible.
yeah. So I'm catching up on it, but I'm hoping to finish it because by the 7th is my target date because the 7th will be the beta for the Avengers. So
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. We'll be playing online with whoever is available for that when that drops. Also, I forgot to say, Drogodan, thumbs up, soldier. I see you found the emote, so that's awesome. And if you were curious, we just uploaded a bunch of new custom emotes for Twitch, and as well as sub levels. And Drogodan's got the 3 month sub level there, which is a Starship Enterprise, and it says Captain at the bottom, which is pretty cool. And then I think the 1 year one, which if I type in chat is there, it's Sephiroth, One Winged Angel Sephiroth or sub badge test, and then if you do subscribe even for 1 month, you get a cool emote as well. I don't remember, or sub badge. I don't remember what it was though, off the top of my head. I'll have to go back and look. So yeah. And then what else have I been playing? Ghost of Tsushima. Played some Star Trek Online, Divinity: Original Sin, Dungeons and Dragons Online this week because we did not play Exalted. And even though I got the new Badass Exalted intro done, so I'm pretty excited about that. That took a hot minute. I might show it to you guys later. And then last but not least, played Rifts on Tuesday. So yeah, it's been a big, busy week, and I think that's. Let's shoot through the news because I don't think there's that much of it, and we'll try and get through that, and then we'll hit up. we'll hit up the Last of Us 2 Spoilercast to round out the show. So if you want to follow along with us for our news section, we do that at our Twitter site, which is twitter.com/gamersledge. And this is going to go back, today is the 24th, so 12 days from now would have been the 12th. Yeah, that sounds right.
That's math.
So I won some Fortnite matches because I can see the pictures there. What else? Oh, I lost the predictions championship outright, finally, for the first time. Ken and Lexi are co-champions. Dave, you can get in on that action at some point whenever the next pay-per-view comes up. So that's
we're
a
talking
little...
about wrestling. Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about wrestling for a second. And then from there...
Just a quick second. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, it was a quick second. I apparently shared a bunch of pictures from Ghost of Tsushima to the social media account as well. I was so stunned in the opening credit scenes when the credits finally rolled. I could not believe that this was a PlayStation 4 game. It was so pretty.
Yeah, I'm when the inevitable PlayStation 5 patch drops and you throw that on there, that's I don't even understand, but yeah.
We did release our brand new schedule for the summer for live streaming, so that is up. It's actually, when we're offline on Twitch, it is the channel video, so you can see all the times we're going to stream, and we'll actually throw that up at the end of the podcast as well. What else?
I'm not looking at the thing, but just a couple other things. They did confirm that Spider-Man Miles Morales will be 4K 60 in what's called performance mode. So that's brought up some questions as to whether or not there's actually modes in the system, or if the modes in the game, or what they mean by performance mode. That hasn't been clarified yet, but there were a lot of people, because the stream only ran at 30 frames per second, were making the assumption that the PS5 couldn't do any higher than 30 frames a second, and so that was clarified.
Yes. And so San Diego Comic-Con at home is happening right now. One of the things to come out of this is that Mystery Science Theater 3000, the original cast, said they would reunite to riff a short film for charity. If they got enough people to back them, it was backed within like 30 seconds. And so now the stretch goal is for another one. But to my knowledge, I believe this is actually the first time that all three original creators are back together, because Corbett went with Mike to do riff tracks. And so to my knowledge, this will be the first time that Weinstein as Tom Servo, Corbett as Crow, and Joel will be reunited back together to riff something. So that's kind of cool. Also cool that the Misty community is still willing to pay for stuff. So that's fun. Kind of like Critters in that way. Anthem 2.0, not dead yet. And apparently they're looking at adding pirates. So they did a big update of a bunch of concept art. They're adding another faction that's pirates. They're balancing matchmaking while they're doing the overhaul to the rest of the stuff. So we're going to have a new pirate faction when we get back. Don't know if they're cyborg pirates, because that's what they look like, or if those are guys in masks, or what's going on. But it's Anthem, so who knows? But, I still think the gameplay loop is fun. It just needs more content, less grinding. So we'll see how they do with that when they redesign it. Speaking of Gatsu, which is what I call Ghost of Tsushima for short, Gatsu sold 2.4 million copies in 3 days. That's not shipped, that's sold. 2.4 million copies in 3 days, meaning that it is now another bona fide exclusive hit for Sony.
Fastest selling exclusive.
It is mind-boggling to me that Microsoft is going the opposite route for the launch of the Xbox Series X. They are like very few exclusives and almost all only third-party games. So it's very strange, but the Xbox Game Pass is a winner.
That would that would
So
explain why I wasn't able to get a game on time when pre-ordering from Amazon late. For the Ghost game.
Oh, because they were all
oh, because they were all
they
sold
sold
out.
them
I see.
all.
Yes.
Clearly, they sold a lot.
Yes. Yes, they did.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
it. Got it.
Matt and I were both not following that one. I think we were both like,
Try and
Yeah,
keep up. Try and keep up. We had a big long conversation about it.
he moved on to Xbox, so I was trying to draw the line between Xbox and what you were saying, and it wasn't working just because that's not where the line was.
It wasn't that quick on things.
Drogodan says his favorite announcement of the week was Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide, which is which looks like it's going to be a FPS style kind of thing, with the main enemy being Chaos or Nurgle Chaos. Not that I'm that up on Warhammer stuff, I'll be the first to admit that, but I hope it's good. Vermintide has been pretty good. People have really liked it, so I'm hoping that it is good for you, Drogodan. And that it sells well, because the Vermintides have sold very well. They made a second one, and apparently that one sold well too. So, my favorite Warhammer thing so far has been the Warhammer, not Total War. Is it Total War? Warhammer Total War? It was the fantasy edition. I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. That's been the best licensed one that I've seen so far, in my opinion. But that's because I don't do first-person shooters for the most part. Let me change that.
Did we want to do our scores just real quick on the latest Xbox event?
We'll get there in a second. But I did want to throw in that Banner got the Ghost of Tsushima collector's edition from Japan.
Ooh.
And he actually has the Clan Sakai mask. It came in it, and he said it's very heavy and it's beautiful, and it was well worth the price of admission. So
That's cool.
So yeah,
Still not going to pay that much, but that's cool.
yeah, that's how I feel. So yes, the Xbox Series X gameplay event happened. So much cutscene and non-gameplay in it.
But you got like 12 minutes of Halo.
And to be fair,
To be fair,
it looked good. Like, I actually thought it looked
Halo.
like original Halo, like a return to form to Halo. So I thought that looked good.
Which that's a good thing.
It is.
It was your lazy shoots.
So we were in discussions today, and there will be an Xbox Series X in this household. So,
Whoa.
Wow.
because this is what I had started to say before. The Xbox Game Pass for $10 a month, I believe it is, or 15 a month, is ridiculously good. And the fact that it will allow Lexi to play on an Xbox and I to play on my PC for multiplayer games together, that's a win.
Oh.
And so the fact that, most of the games are day and date on the service, not all of them, but most of them, and that's fine, for what you're paying for there. That's a really good thing. And I actually feel like we've been really lacking on Xbox coverage for a while because none of us have one. And so that will give us the opportunity to talk about what they're doing right, what they're not doing right, what the UI is like. So we will be having a Series X as well as 2 PS5s in this household. I'm already crying for the
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, boy.
Why two PS5s?
So the ongoing issue in the household
Couch co-op.
has been that there are not enough couch co-op games. And there are almost every good game that comes out recently has online multiplayer, but only single player offline. So this will enable us to actually play games together online.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so so Banner just said thinking about getting an Xbox if the rumored MMO Fable game is true. Listen, man, all they did was put the name up on the screen. We know nothing about it. I wouldn't count your chickens before they're hatched because, man,
Frogs eat fairies.
yeah, that's all we know. Drogonan says Warframe is having a digital TennoCon this year due to the health crisis. They will be streaming on Twitch all day August 1st, 2020, and the streams are all free. They do have some cool swag, digital swag you can get with a $20 subscription. That's pretty cool. I think we're going to see a lot of this over the next upcoming 6 to 12
Year.
months. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to be optimistic, but 6 months for sure. I
Oh.
think we're going to see a lot of these events.
Can
where
I
you can,
can I say? Well, yeah, I agree. I'm not taking away from that, but I really, 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 really hyped up to a lot of people that I was so sure we would have a date for the
a
Xbox
date and a
on
price.
that event. Date and a price, at least a date, but I was very, very certain we'd have a date and a price. And I am still shook. I could not believe it when we got to the end of that conference and nothing. Not even expect more news in the coming days or anything. Just I am because my whole thought was they were going to do it today. Sony will do it next week to have given Ghost at least a week to
Mm,
air out before they do it, and
yeah.
then we would be off to the races. So now I'm like, am I wrong about both? I mean,
So we've talked about this offline. We haven't talked about it on the podcast, I don't think. I have been spinning in my grave for the last 2 months because they are they are I'm trying to think of well, I can say that. They're castrating their potential adoption base right now. I mean, yes, people knew that the console was coming out this year, but they don't know how much they need to spend or save. They're not being told, and it's getting down to like we're less than probably 3 months away. I mean, October's still a guess at this point. It could be December, in which case you've got a little more time, but still,
it's got to be no, it's got to be out before Black Friday, so it's got to be latest or early November.
yeah,
Does
yeah,
it?
at the late, I think so. You would not want to launch a console on Black Friday. That would be the
Oh
worst mistake
gosh.
I think they could ever do.
Oh Lord.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, but I'm just like I don't think anybody's really following many rules this year. So who knows? I really
I
you
mean,
have to.
can Black
I
Friday even
admire.
exist?
Well, Walmart's going to
It'll
close.
it'll be digital. It'll all
That's
be
what I'm saying.
digital,
It's
I'm
going to be
sure.
like Cyber Monday kind of things. I don't
Yeah,
think we're gonna.
like
And
Walmart's
it'll all
already
be the
announced
bots.
they're not going to be open.
I did
You
not
know,
see that. That's interesting.
Huh.
yeah. So I mean, that's
So in other words, if they were to launch either console on Black Friday and it's all digital, that means we'll all be having to nice try to get them from scalpers on eBay.
God, no, please, God, no.
yeah.
Please, God, no. That would. I'm already anxious as it is that I got to try and get two on launch day. Excuse me. See, I'm having heartburn about the whole issue.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Just thinking
Jeez.
about it. The last time I got two at launch was PlayStation 3.
You got more than two. You got like four.
No, no, I
There's
only got
six.
no, I only got two.
Was it only
For
two? Okay, I
it
thought
was
you had
only
like
two.
somebody else. Okay.
No, and I had to like watch my back because there were like shootings
Yeah,
of
in
people
Omaha there
being
were.
mugged in Omaha. Yeah, about that. But no, PlayStation 2 I got 6.
Oh, okay. It was PS2. All right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was good. But I no, we're talking about the PS5. I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to get two of them on launch day. It's going to be real hard. Especially, I mean, I guess I'm going to have to pre-order through Amazon. How is that even going to work? I'm so used to going to I mean, I guess I could do Best Buy.
Best
No,
Buy,
maybe.
Amazon,
Yeah, I'm going to have to do
probably
Amazon.
Walmart. Problem, I suppose.
There's no Walmarts in the city.
Well, no, but you get it shipped. Like I'll do Best Buy, but I'll probably end up getting my unit shipped, which means I won't get it on launch evening. So
Right. That I want to go and get it launch evening. So
you're down to like Best Buy now.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
You know,
much.
or if somehow GameStop's still in business.
I won't give them money in advance. They're already spending
No.
pre-orders, closing stores, and then spending that pre-order money rather than refunding it to people. So no, thank you. I'm good.
Lame.
It's super lame. All right. Any other last news that we want to tackle before we?
Uh, did you want to pump the not Suikoden quick?
Oh, how did that not? Was that not in the stream, or I just not see it? Why do
You were probably too busy squealing to actually post.
It must not have posted. I
Oh
must
wow,
have
okay.
like got it half done and not finished the post. Damn it. So
We're very excited.
yeah, I am very excited because the original creators of Suikoden announced a spiritual successor today that will be done in the 2.5D style, kind of like what we got with the Square Enix game on the Switch.
Oh,
The fun
Octopath.
Octopath Traveler. I'm like funny name. What is it? Octopath Traveler. Yes. So, but it's not it's not. It looks better. Better is the wrong word. It looks. It is not 16 or 32-bit art style, so it looks better, but it's the same kind of visual concept. Yes. So they're saying over 100 collectible characters that you can have in your party. They are starting the Kickstarter on the 27th, and they are targeting PC only to start. But if they hit stretch goals, then they'll bring it to other platforms. The real question for me is, I guess it would be PS5 as the stretch goal, maybe PS4 as well. I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
So, Sony's giving out select PS Plus subscribers $10 today. So check your inboxes.
Yeah, I haven't gotten one, so
I'll have to check that as well later. Any other news?
Warner selling off their game division. Did you see that one?
I
is that confirmed or is that still in the rumors?
Is it still rumors? I thought that was confirmed.
I thought it was confirmed as well, but I thought it was more than 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Every week
No,
is like a
the two
year
weeks
now.
ago was yeah, 2 weeks ago was rumor. Last week was still rumor. So if it popped this week again, I just haven't seen it.
Okay.
Or is it just like they confirmed that they want to sell it? But
Yeah, I think they confirmed that they want to sell it, but they
yeah,
haven't. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
then, for the next 45 minutes or so, this will be a spoiler cast about The Last of Us 2. We do have a spoiler review up on vidgamenews.com and gamersledge.com. It's in both places. We will be talking about spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled for The Last of Us 2, then at this point I would probably say thanks for listening, watching. We appreciate you, and bye. If you do want to stick around because you don't care or you want to hear our comments, this would be the part where we start the spoiler cast. So, The Last of Us 2. And I am going to break our normal rules. Fuck this game.
Oh,
wow.
comes with the hot takes. Hot takes.
Yeah.
See, I disagree right off the
You.
bat.
Oh, just stop, Dave. You haven't even played it. So, here's the thing. I don't want. I don't. That was for shock value. This is a well crafted, thoughtfully approached game, but it suffers from a ton of issues, mostly in the writing department, in my opinion. And this is my opinion. I know Matt has a completely different take on it, which is totally fine.
I'm just listening at this
Yeah.
point. Carry on.
My biggest, so I put up the spoiler review. I gave the presentation a 10 out of 10. Visual fidelity, fantastic. The atmosphere for what they're going for, fantastic. The number of accessibility features, probably the most accessible game ever made to get as many people playing it as possible. Kudos for that. The audio design, there are times that the
Stalkers.
go ahead. I'm not sure what you were actually.
No, stalkers. The first time when you're clearing that building with stalkers in it,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
sound design in that building, yeah, blah, it just
I mean,
stresses you out. The sound in the game just stresses you out. Not mention the enemies you're going
but
against.
the biggest compliment I can give them on the sound design is that the old adage is know when to add more and know when to add none. And
Less is more. Yeah.
there are points where the lack of noise is so disconcerting that you immediately start scanning the horizon. And it's the the brutality to this game. That I will say that the presentation of the brutality in this game is almost torture porn levels. Like, it is really graphic, it is really violent, and it's not a Mortal Kombat haha violence. It is Mortal Kombat if it was portrayed realistically, which no one really wants to see. I won't be surprised if within 6 months we hear about people who had PTSD from working on this, just like we did Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat's like not super realistic, and this was, and it was brutal, 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 brutal. Watching someone take a shotgun blast to the face is super unsettling, and even though their head doesn't jib, it's still like really, it's not Joker gross. No, it's super gross. I had a visceral reaction. So on that point, the game made me feel something. So kudos to it for that. I gave the presentation a 10 out of 10. Like, I don't think it could have been done better. The gameplay, if you liked the gameplay in the first Last of Us, here's more of the same. It is pretty much like, I felt they did a really good job. The only thing is, it's been so much time since the original game. The button mapping was really weird to me. And, I talked to Matt about this as I was playing it. And he's like, no, these are the same controls they were in the original game. I'm like, really? I don't remember it being these weird buttons, but okay, sure.
Well, I only knew that because I played Left Behind right before this.
Yeah,
So I'd gotten like a primer on what the controls were again. Now, well, I will say I thought, even having just played Left Behind and then going into this, I thought, man, they really didn't change anything. I mean, these are almost identical in the UI and stuff. And then I watched Keegan playing Last of Us Part 1, and oh no, they streamlined a lot
yeah,
of
they
the
did.
UI.
They
And
did.
it's really nice.
I think the biggest complaints that I had was that the hitboxes on some things could have greatly been improved. There were times that I did try to die. I did die trying to jump over something. Steering characters isn't as leany as it was in the first game, so I actually appreciated that. I played on medium difficulty in it, and I found that the AI was dumb enough to, if I jumped in grass, they just immediately lost sight of me. So I would like
Hmm.
go out and do something, shoot somebody or kill somebody, and then immediately jump into tall grass, and they couldn't find me. They'd come searching for me, but they couldn't find me, and so that gave me an opportunity to shank them or murder them, and it was fine. And I will say that I appreciated the fact that the different characters played differently. Ellie is
Mhm.
small and not well built, so she's more geared for stealth, and they encourage you to play her as stealth, and that worked. When you're, spoilers, playing as Abby later, which we'll talk about in the story section, she's a weightlifter that apparently has access to steroids in the apocalypse to maintain her body shape
Lots
and
lots of
figure,
creatine.
yeah, uh, and consumes enough for 3 people, yet they keep her on the team. But regardless, she is obviously not stealthy, and they encourage you to play her not stealthy, and it does
She's
feel,
basically Joel. If
yeah,
you go back to it, she basically plays like Joel.
yeah. So that stuff is all good. The pacing of the game was
And
very
we should
predictable.
clarify,
Yeah,
the enemy thing you're talking about. There's tiers of enemies. The base level grunt tiers, yes, you're right.
yeah,
The middle and high tier humans had a much better chance of finding you if you were hiding in grass. And the infected would always find you no matter where you were once you let them know you were around. So those
right.
they find you anywhere.
I'd say the humans in general, that grass trick worked. I can't think of a time it didn't for me.
Those big bruiser scars with the axes and the pickaxes and the stuff like that. Those guys would find, and if they
No,
saw me, they would find me
yeah, no,
anywhere.
those guys. You're right. Those guys would find you no matter what. Um, well,
Not
sometimes.
no matter what, but they were much more aggressive about looking
Yeah,
for you.
they were much more aggressive. I agree with that
And if
wholeheartedly.
the enemy had elevation advantage, they had a much higher chance of seeing you. If you were
That
on
is
the
also
same
correct.
plane, it was much easier to hide. But if they had any elevation advantage whatsoever, they'd find you pretty easy.
The story pacing was a little predictable at times because, like, literally, if you go back and watch me streaming the game, I'm like, we haven't had a jump scare for a while. Here comes a jump scare, and sure enough, here there was the jump scare. And it's it, but I mean, overall, I mean, that kind of predictability isn't bad. It's just I wish they would have changed it up a little bit throughout the game. That's all.
And it helps diffuse a little of the stress of it, right? You
Yeah,
you kind of know what's coming, so
yeah.
you're ready for it. And
The thing that drove me insane throughout a good majority of the game was the press R3 to see a hint if I spent more than
two
2.5
seconds,
seconds
yeah,
in any
looking
one
around.
spot. Yeah, it's like you haven't even let me look around this 12-foot area yet to make sure I'm not going to get jumped, and you're already offering me hints. Come on, guy,
You
game.
can turn those off, but
You
then you
can.
completely lose it.
Right,
So
right. And to be fair, there were
Fair.
places where I did need the hint because I felt like the level design was good in this, not interesting, but it was okay. But there were some levels where you really
it
had
got
no
tricky.
idea
Yeah.
where to go. And I would like run back through the entire level and still not figure out where I needed to go. So that was
And it was usually crawling through some little crevasse somewhere that you didn't see because it's hiding in a shadow. And
yep,
yeah,
yep. So overall, I mean, I want to start there and say that the game is mechanically, presentation wise, a solid, competent, decent game. What I didn't like is more story side, which we'll get to, and story side in how it was presented to us, the order it was presented to us, and then the length of the game because of how they chose to present it to us. Those are my biggest criticisms of the game. And if someone asks me, should I buy The Last of Us 2? This is one that it's very difficult for me to say yes or no because it's really going to be about what was your tie to the characters, what do you think justice for those characters is, and it's like if I completely remove any kind of critique about the story out of it, should you play it as a game? Yes, it's a fantastic game. You should play it. It's worth your time. It may be a little longer than you might expect, but that's about it. But as a game, it is a good game. So I want to get that said so that when I'm talking about the negatives, which I have a lot of opinions on, I don't want people to say, oh, Mark just buried the game. No, it is a very well crafted and I believe lovingly crafted game. Sadly,
you
the
want me to
blue.
go through my ideas on what you just covered before
Yeah,
we
yeah,
dive into
I'm
the
gonna do that.
next?
Yeah, sadly,
Okay.
I think that the story is where it gets let down. I gave the game overall a 7.5 out of 10. So even as you hear me
which is
talking
still
about
good.
what I disliked about it, it's not like there's no redeeming qualities to the game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying that I as a person critiquing the game disagreed with the way they told the story and what the story is. And that doesn't mean that I think it should be rewritten. I just think that there were choices that they could have made to make it a much more interesting experience. Matt, I will shut up now and it's your turn.
No, that's fine. So on most of the points, we're in very good agreement. Graphically, I mean, between this and Ghost, I mean, they have different strengths in what they do graphically. Ghost's faces look, or no, the Last of Us Part Two's faces look way better than Ghost faces. I mean, there's there's just a level of detail missing in Ghost that Last of Us Part Two has. But when it comes to like a beautiful vista with a sunset, I mean, there's a scene toward the end of the game, back third of the game, where you're in an environment with mountains and lush sunsets in Last of Us Part Two, and it looks great. But every 5 minutes, you're getting something like that in Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
It's every corner has some beautiful vista that you're looking out over and some lighting thing going on.
And
And
that level with the scars where you're going into the sun, the setting
mhm,
sun, that is the worst designed level I've ever seen in my life because you can't see for the entire level because the
it does
sun
make
is
it difficult.
directly in your face the whole time.
Yeah, they went for some realism choices that made things harder than they necessarily needed to be, but I get what they were going for. I think that's where we'll get more into like some of the disagreeing points. But um, it is very much a video game. You have weird things that block you off from going places that you should totally be able to go. Um, I scoured the game, I feel pretty relentlessly, and I still missed over 30% of the collectibles for both characters. Um, but that's Naughty Dog. Every Naughty Dog game I've played has been that way. I'm like, I scoured all these levels. Where are you hiding all these things? But that's part of the challenge and part of the replayability of it is being able to go back and get all that stuff.
Right.
Um, as a guy who generally only plays through a game once, little frustrated with the choice that you couldn't max out all your skills and all your weapons and everything in one playthrough. It takes multiples to do that, but I get it. I'm kind of an anomaly that way, where I play a game once, I play the crap out of it, and then I'm done with it, generally speaking. So that was a minor annoyance to me in the kind of the game structure. But like you said, sound design is amazing. There's times where you just get stressed out just by the sound. The combination of the music and what they do with the ambient sound. You grow to hate whistles. You just become to just you hear a whistle and you're like, ugh. I did like the new mechanic, although it teaches people very bad things because if you're ever shot with an arrow, folks, don't pull it out.
No,
Don't pull it out. Okay, the game is teaching you bad things.
it's teaching you how to
But
die is what it's
yeah.
doing.
Um, that aside, it was an interesting new mechanic. That was something that was new to this game that wasn't in the previous one. How to deal with being shot with arrows instead of just shooting things with arrows. Um, but graphically, art design, voice acting. You got an A tier cast there, right? And
Mm.
they all deliver. I mean, they all deliver.
And can
Um,
I quickly say, no matter how much you like or dislike a game, don't send death threats to the actors that did the voiceover work for it. I shouldn't have to say that, but we live in an age where people are actually doing that. It
yeah,
boggles my mind. It's a game.
This stuff's gotta. People need to just calm the hell down.
Yeah, agreed.
That kind of stuff's like driving me nuts. Like like right, for instance, like my nephew. I was talking about to prepare for this. I actually spoke with my nephew who played through the game, so I actually have an opinion to share, even though if it's not my own. And he was basically kind of the same way, like Mark was. Like the game was great, gameplay was great, loved it for that. He really hated the way the story made you play the other person, and like he was just like that. I didn't want to. I didn't care. And then like they tried to like shoehorn in stuff that he just felt they just didn't need to be there. And he said just the story just got sloppy and made him do things he just didn't care to do and didn't want to do. So like yeah, I mean that's a very real like complaint with that. He wasn't going to like set fire to some developer's house or anything like that over it. He was just like move on, something else to play.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
The between the folks working for the studio and specifically Laura Bailey, called out that she was getting death threats over this, and I think a couple others did too. That's just that's ridiculous. I mean, you want to hope most of it is just people being stupid, but that's just not even close to the right way to go about being stupid. That's actually illegal. They could press charges on you if they wanted to,
which
because
they should.
I wish they would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to work at a place that like a financial place that handled people's money, like it was a mutual fund place. And on down days, we used to get calls, and every once in a while, some guy would make a threat that he was going to do something, and I'd be like, "Okay, sir," and I'd turn the number right over to the police. It's and they got to knock on a door. It was always my favorite part of my job. But it's just like it's you can't do that stuff. I mean, we're supposed to be living in a civilized society. People need to be able to take disappointment.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in like the 80s and 90s with video games. I mean, most of the time we were disappointed. So like maybe we had that, and like we had to pay a lot more money to be disappointed back then. We had to put in effort. We had to get a little ticket and then wait for somebody to get a game out of a little closet. You guys remember that stuff, right?
I do
Hey, Toys R
remember
Us.
that. That was Walmart for me.
Like what was that? That
Yeah.
was the only place that we can get like games easily was Toys R Us at one point.
Yeah.
And they had this really complicated ticketing system. And like
Mhm.
one time, I mean, we won't talk about disappointment. So my buddy and I, it was around Christmas. He had some Christmas money. He wanted to go get a video game, and this is the NES. So we walked up to Toys R Us, like two little kids walked up to Toys R Us. He got the ticket, went, paid for it, and this is like the day after Christmas, so it is just like a mob scene. Goes in the back, they hand him the game, he gets it, unwrapped, looks in the bag, and he says, "Wait, you gave me the wrong thing." And they just look at him and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have to process a return." What? Just give me the right game. And like, so we had to, and they made us because we were kids, they're not gonna, let us complain. So we had to stand in a line, and this is day after Christmas, so there was like this huge line for returns. Go through this whole process, go back, and we had to like make sure they gave us the right game that time. Finally get home like 4 hours later because it took forever to walk there too. And we started playing the game, and it was the old WCW game for the NES, which sucked. And there was no way, to know. Like there was no like magazines were just coming out at that time, like and they didn't cover every game. Everything was lagging. It was a new thing. Like you didn't know. You didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thankfully later Tecmo Wrestling came out, but that was another 6 months from then that we got that. But
And
that
you had to
WCW,
walk uphill both ways in the snow.
pretty much, dude, it was awful. So,
Anyway, back to The Last of Us Part 2.
yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. What were we talking about? We were talking about the setup and the stuff for the game. I guess we kind of edged into it. I did not have a problem with the character swap. I thought I understood what they were going for. I have my problem with it, and I'll just edge into this. We can get into it more later. Whereas the first story was kind of nuanced, was more nuanced, right? There was some definite nuance to it as opposed to this one, which
This was a sledgehammer.
with the themes with a sledgehammer. Like if you don't understand, all the things are the same. By the end of this, you somehow played the wrong game because I mean they really just kind of beat you over
Well,
the head with their themes here. But
so so I
um,
I I gotta say this. This is the whole crux of my argument. Is that it's not, and that's the problem. If it was the same, then I would have a problem with it. But it's not. It's not in any way, shape, or form the same. By the time, by the time, by the time the game should have ended, you have erased anything good from the first game. Ellie has become a revenge-driven psychopath for all intents and purposes. And when they do the switch, Abby saves. I've forgotten his name already. His or her name.
Trevor Fitzroy.
we're talking about
The
you're talking about Lev or
Lev, yes, thank you. Abby saves Lev, which is supposed to be a parallel to the first game because now Abby's Joel and Lev is Ellie. Except that one good thing does not redeem Abby. Abby is a shit person who has done crappy things and made bad choices her entire life. This one thing does not redeem her. And you've destroyed the characters that we loved from the first game already in this process. And what I don't like about the game is that Ellie, as
wait,
she
wait, 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 wait,
Uh-oh.
wait, wait,
You put him in bed.
wait. Who is it that called me like the minute they finished The Last of Us and declared how evil and the villain Joel was of the first game? Who was that? I think his name started with an M, ended with a K, last name Bodanik.
no, it must have
That
been
was
your
very
brother.
definitely you. No, that was very definitely you. He called me. I can't believe I played the villain the whole time. He's a terrible person. He does all the wrong things. That was you, my friend. You are pulling a 180 here.
I I don't remember this conversation. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I don't remember it. I thought that Joel was selfish, but I don't think he was.
At the time, you referred to him as the villain of the story. Now, you may have tempered that over time.
I may have. I
But
don't remember this conversation.
your
at all.
initial take was that he was the villain of the story.
Because I had no problem with The Last of Us, the original one, other than I thought that Joel was very selfish at the end. But that's the game that Naughty Dog wanted to tell, or that's the story that Naughty Dog wanted to tell.
It
And
was a human decision.
Yeah, it was
wasn't
a human
heroic
decision.
It was a human decision.
And I still don't think I would have said anything bad about the game because I loved the game.
Well, not the game itself, but just that your
story.
frustration at the time was that you did not like Joel because that final decision and culminated with everything else he did along the game. He was basically a mass murderer and
Oh
this and
yeah,
that and
no,
stuff, that he was the bad guy of the game.
yeah, sort of, and that's fine, but the Joel that we are presented with at the beginning of this game is not that Joel. Also, he is a tempered version over time of Joel.
He's settled down.
Otherwise, he would have just let Abby die if he was. I mean, if you went back to Last of Us 1 and the choices Joel made, they would not have gone out of their way to save Abby when she was in danger.
Right.
So
I mean, the years in Jackson have definitely had an effect on him.
Right. And so I'm not saying that what he did wasn't wrong for the world at large, because I thought it was, even at the time. I won't say that he wouldn't be a villain to Abby. He would. But my point is that Abby's life does not get. Abby works for a shitty organization that does shitty things to people in the name of God knows what. She blindly goes along with it to the point that she's like second in command. She's the only thing that makes her smile in the entire game. The only time Abby smiles in the entire game is when she is thinking about killing Joel. or articulating a plan to find Joel and kill him. She regrets nothing by the end of the game. So there are no consequences for her by the end of the game.
I think she does. I think you're playing that a little too hard.
They sure
She's not
didn't
the one that wanted
express
to
it.
fight at the end.
But Ellie, on the other hand, internalizes every person she kills. There's a point where she almost has a nervous breakdown over it in the first section before you play as Abby. She wonders if she's becoming a bad person, and she makes selfish choices and then has to internalize that, and you get to experience that throughout the game. So it's like she's supposed to be the protagonist of the game, and yet they turn her into the villain. And it's very
Well, they turn her into a villain. Again, it's all back to a certain point of view, right? I mean,
right.
that's
But they
that's the
turn
whole
her
point.
into a bigger villain, in my opinion, than they do Abby, because Abby lives in this carefree world where she doesn't. I mean, I can't reiterate enough how much of a shitty person Abby is. Like, there are almost no redeeming qualities about her. She's a adulterer. She's a like, you can see even in her interactions with her friends that she's not a super great person. And it's like, okay, yeah, there are worse assholes in her group of friends, and those die pretty early. But it's like, I don't know, man. It just feels to me like I get what they were going for, right? But it would have been much more impactful if they would have recut how they presented this story, so that you played the dinosaur scene with Ellie, and then you played the museum scene with Abby. And then, draw the parallels much more closely, rather than build Ellie as this protagonist that you're already connected to because of the first game, and you're already on the pro side for, and then you have to play as the person who killed Joel and actively work against Ellie. If I
But
was
you
not.
don't till the very end. That's the thing. I think that they don't. See, I was wondering how this all lined up. You get to the switch point, right? So you get to the switch point, and you've basically got Abby seemingly at least having killed two of the people in Ellie's four-person group at that time,
Mhm.
and a gun at Ellie, and basically looking like she's gonna pull the trigger. And
Mhm.
there's not a dang thing anyone can do about it. And I'm like wondering, okay, how did we get to that? Has she been hunting her this entire time? Is that how this got to this point? And then you find out, no, she's known shit all about that, what's going on this
Yeah.
entire time until like the last 5 minutes, right? I mean, she
And
doesn't know anything that's going on.
and I felt like that was poor storytelling as well. Like, it was power of plot. Oh, I'm supposed to be somewhere else, but I just found out about this, and I'm gonna go do that now instead. It's like Abby changes her mind, changes her convictions, and there's not really a reckoning as to why. Yes, she's
Well, I think
helping Lev.
you see the entire crew, they're all dealing with the aftermath of killing Joel differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're all processing that in some way. And to the extent that she's able to, because she has been so twisted by revenge and rage and enabled by Isaac in that group to become just a horrible person, she doesn't know how to reconcile these things. She's lost enough of her humanity at that point that she's processing this whole thing, and it's coming down to, okay, yeah, everybody's basically telling me I'm a shit human being. It's kind of true. And I'm actually starting to have some human feelings again now, because I've gotten rid of this weight that's set over my head for forever, and I think it's resolved and done. and she's actually starting to finally evolve as a person. I mean, that's how I read it.
Yeah, but it sure doesn't seem like much because she still has no problem murdering all the people and moving on from there. I don't. It's
Well, yeah, but I mean, again, it's. I mean, that's the world, right? I mean, it is literally a kill or be killed world. I mean, you can only remove so much of that from the story.
and playing as Abby was not. I didn't care about playing as Abby, and that's part of the problem is that I didn't want to play as Abby. And fine, that's the story they wanted to tell. They wanted you to feel something playing Abby. That's fine, but it was so long. They could have told Abby's story in about 3.5 hours, and instead it was 10. And I agree with what Dave's nephew said. They shoehorned a bunch of shit in there while you were playing as Abby to artificially stretch the length of the game. And there was no reason to do that. They could have told the story they wanted to do with Abby in a third of the time that they did. And I take it back. I only did 7. Oh no, it was about 10 hours with Abby, and they could have easily done it in 2 or 3, and that would have been fine, right? But then the scene, the very culmination where you're back to day 3 and you're doing the fight in the basement of the theater or whatever. It's like I didn't want to do it, and I mean I kept trying to get Abby killed, and of course it would game over, and I'd have to start over again. And I get that that's what they wanted you to do, but there comes a point where you have to take the player's account into it a little bit, right? And I didn't want to do any of this stuff, and I literally said I would have set the controller down and never come back to the game at that point if I wasn't streaming it and needed to see it through to completion, because I did not feel connected to Abby in any way. I didn't care about her because to me she was the villain. And if you have a story to tell, great, but me actively having to try and kill who I feel is the protagonist was not something that I was invested in doing, and there was no way out of it for me. And so that was that's a personal thing. I'm sure you probably didn't necessarily feel the same way. I'm sure other people won't feel the same way, but for me, that was the overriding thing of why I didn't like that section of the game so much. And even when they did switch it back to Ellie, a lot of that was padding for me too. You know, I don't think I thought the game should have culminated and ended in an hour-long section once they got to the end of day 3. Once Ellie got to there, tell the rest in either a short form or cutscenes or something. But what they did, I think, impacted the story to stretch it out way too long. That's one of my biggest things that came away with.
I think what and again, I haven't watched any dev diaries or anything, but I got the feeling while I was doing that everything that happened after the farm, the first farm scene,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go to the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And they flash back to the dance. Everything beyond that point, I think, was going to be a DLC or was going to be an add-on. A kind of originally was going to be a Left Behind style additional story, and instead of doing that, they integrated it into the main game, which does make a very odd transition. I'm with you. I think the game's probably too long. Now, I wouldn't say all the time has to come off of Abby's side. You could probably cut time out of both. I mean, that whole opening segment of Seattle is filler, effectively, right? I mean, it's like an oversized tutorial zone, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's cutting that could be done, and I think that's probably part of the problem with having such a high visibility, high production, high expectations product is, they left stuff on the cutting room floor still, even with what they gave us. So, you get it. It's like, how much can they cut? How much could they cut? How much should they cut? And That's like authors when they get popular and their books just keep going like this. It's like, okay, editors still exist. Come on, guys, do your
Right.
damn job. But
Right. And
um,
to that point, that's exactly what I was, the scene, the barn dance scene. Why was that not at the beginning of the game?
that should have been the last line of the game. I think they should be terrified of you. That should have been it. The game
Yeah,
should have stopped right there. That should have been the last line of the game.
sure. But I mean, the whole barn dance scene should have been at the beginning because it gave context to your relationship with Dina that you didn't have playing through it normally. And there
Right,
was
that you
one
just get
point,
through the conversations, but
there's one point in Abby's story where you go from present day to a flashback, and because they hadn't introduced the thing that they were flashbacking to talk about, they did a flashback within the flashback. And I'm like, legit, that's not a good way to present your story. Reorder it.
which part was that? I'm
I'd have to go back
not
and look,
remembering.
but
Okay, I don't remember an embedded flashback, but
no,
that's okay.
I guarantee you it's in there because
I'm sure it is. I just don't
Drog
remember it.
Drogodan was watching with me on the screen. He's like, I've lost count of how many flashbacks we're in, and I'm like, two. We're in two flashbacks at this point. We've gone twice into Inception, so it was like Drogodan shouting, "Oh God, yes!" in the chat right now because he was watching me at that point, and it was. I get
That's
how
like
some
16
people,
flashbacks.
yeah, I get how some people could get confused by that, and that felt like I don't have necessarily a problem with the story that they were trying to tell. I just think that this was a suboptimal way in how they implemented and chose to chop it up and tell it. I think it would have been much more effective if they would have had, just as an example, yes, the barn dance scene at the beginning, because we've all seen that already. It gives context to Dina and Ellie's relationship. And then from there, at the end, have that scene play out again and focus in on Dina when she says, I think they should all be scary. I agree wholeheartedly. Have it happen after Ellie goes back to the farm. There are like, what would you say, two false endings to this game? Where you
Three
think
at least.
three false
Yeah,
endings
at
to the
least
game.
three.
Where you think it's gonna be done, and then here's another bunch of gameplay and or cutscenes, etc. And I'm like, okay, sure. And that got tiresome. I like literally, if you watch the stream, by the time I think I was halfway through Abby's playthrough, I was like, please God, just let this game end already. I want to finish the game and be done with it.
Her day two was way too long.
Way too long.
That's always a sign of a good game when you're just like, oh God, just friggin' let this out.
And
See,
and
I
again,
never got to that point. I knew it was too long, but I never got to that point.
well, I think that's the only thing I mentioned to you was that I felt that the game was a bit long, and I tried to
Yeah.
even temper my language to you when I said that.
Oh yeah,
because
but I
didn't wanna-
translated you well enough. I've known you for too long. I knew exactly what that meant.
So how long was your playthrough for it, Mark?
So my playthrough was exactly from beginning to credits. Stand by, and I have got 35.5 hours.
Okay, yeah, it's a
Now,
decent clip.
everyone else's average was 24 hours.
I have
So
no idea how.
I don't know
Mine's
how.
longer than yours. Mine's
Yeah.
longer than
A
yours.
lot of people. All right, here's actually one of my problems with games, and why I initially thought that people were just going to be overly harsh on the game because they weren't really taking the time to kind of like take it all in. Because I know there was a lot of care put into like the environments and everything. Like it's a type of game where the developers put a lot of work into the environment, take some time, to enjoy it. And clearly, I think Mark did, that. I know Matt does, a bunch of that. So your time should be higher because you're actually like, taking your time through the game and actually playing the game.
Exploring for things.
Right. A lot of people, they just like run through stuff. I mean, for years, this has been going on and the trend is just getting worse. And then people complain about like stuff. Well, you didn't take any time to like, you just like, took the food and just jammed it straight down your throat instead of chewing, you know? And that's kind of what it is. And like people complain because I would always talk about like details with stuff like, oh my God, can you believe like, they did this and, the developers took the time to do that. And like, what are you talking about? Eh, you
It's
know,
like there's a whereas you were doing comic books for Ellie in the first one, there's trading cards for the same comic series that you're
Yeah.
collecting as Ellie's part in the second one. And there is one, it's missable. But it's Dr. Uckman with Druckmann. It's Neil Druckmann. It's him as a bad guy in this comic universe in the and it's even his picture. I mean, it's clearly, if you know what Neil Druckmann looks like, it's clearly him on the card. So that, there's stuff like that, it
Which
was
I
like,
stopped to read every card that I found.
oh yeah,
And
me
and
too.
every
It's
and
actually
every
a pretty
quarter.
incredible world that they
It
built for
is.
that.
It is. And every quarter that Abby picked up, I would
Yep.
stop and look at the date and maybe they were all like newer-ish. I wish you could have done something with them, but I digress. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want people to think that this is a horrible game. It's not a horrible game. I have issues with the story and selling, but I still think it is a good game. From
It's a good game, but by the time you're to killing shadow scorpions or whatever they are, yeah, it's like, why did I not get this gun forever ago? I loved that silenced submachine gun. I
yeah,
abused that silenced submachine gun in the last part of the game. That was
yeah,
such a good weapon. Uh,
I, 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 so I gave it a 7.5. Matt, what would you give it a? I'm sorry, I give it yeah,
yeah,
7.5.
7.5 is what you
What
said. Yeah,
what would you give it?
I'm I'm probably an 8.5. It would be a 9 if the ending were a bit more streamlined. I said I never got to that point. I did. Going through that very last segment, I did get to that point where I was just like, okay, I've said I think I've only got a couple hours left about 4 times now. Okay, come on. At some point, I have to only have a couple hours of this game left, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, ooh, done.
Oh,
Like,
I know the thing that we haven't talked about that I wanted to talk about.
although,
Oh, go.
the last scene, what they did choose to do for the last scene is the one time they got me. That is the one time in the game where emotionally they really got me.
What, when she
They
tried to
got,
play the guitar and she couldn't?
well, that, which leads into her actual final conversation with Joel, because they make you look like his final conversation is her telling him off at the dance,
Oh,
when in fact it's with her saying she doesn't know if she can ever forgive him, but she wants to try. And then the
right,
next day he's killed.
right,
So you finally get that context for why, since you know she's hated him for years now, you finally get that context as to why this death impacted her so hard. And the only time they got close with me was when I realized I killed Alice, and that made me sad.
So, the thing that we have not talked about that I need us to talk about, which Matt, you're like me, you went into this whole thing completely blind.
Mm,
No media, you didn't read any reviews. I didn't either. I
right.
I was I saw I saw everything bubbling up online and immediately pushed it away so I didn't read it or wasn't tainted by it. So there's two things that Naughty Dog did here that I feel are in the realm of super shady shit. The first one, not so much. The second one, 100% yes, is shady shit. The first one was that they doctored most of their marketing material to make Joel look older to imply that he would be an integral part throughout the game. And they even like inserted him into a couple things. That's not the
Said
end of the
some
world
lines
for
that
me.
other characters said
Right.
in the final cut of the game, which
Right.
I always assumed that he was not real, that was misdirection. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
but okay, it's not great to mislead your consumers in your marketing material, but I
It's
don't
been
take
way common in this
yeah,
arena for quite a while
right,
now.
to prevent secrets from getting out. Yes. But what was shady as hell is they put an embargo on the Abbey portion of the game. So everyone that wanted to do a review when the first embargo was lifted, which was at game launch, could not write about Abby's section of the game at all.
It was actually a full week before the game launched.
That's correct.
The
And
review
so,
embargo was. Yeah.
yeah. And so that meant that people were giving scores and reviews to the game that were generally positive because they couldn't talk about the other section of the game. And that, to me, is some super shady shit. Let people. That, to me, is misleading people because they're not able. You should give the consumer the choice of whether or not to read about spoilers, etc. You shouldn't embargo sections of the game with different embargo times. That's real shady. And that's.
Yeah.
And they haven't
I'm hope
apologized
no
or said.
reviewer. I hope no reviewer gave a different score than they would have if they had been able to include. I mean, it would be impossible to do a review without spoilers and talk about that section at all.
Mm-hmm.
So on the one hand, I kind of get it that they were trying to protect the turn, right? That was their twist, right? That was
Right,
oh
right.
my gosh, I'm going to do this, okay. And yeah, at first, of course, you hate it because all you've seen is the absolute shittiest sides of Abby. She has less shitty sides, and you get to see those as you play through her. And so I get it. I get why that would be something that they would, ask the review community to play down. In this case, just completely not be able to say anything about. But at the same time, I would hope that their score at the end still reflects what they thought of the game with that content included.
I don't think it did because most of the outlets that actually gave an even, fair shake to both, and I'm not saying they had to be lower than a high score for that. There were plenty of those. They had to wait the extra, I think it was week or 2 weeks before they could do a full review. And that sucks if you have trusted sources and they're not putting out a review, when everyone else does. It makes you think that either there's something wrong with the outlet or there's something that they're afraid that's gonna happen if they publish their review day and date. And when the fact is that they're just embargoing you from talking about entire sections of the game, that seems wrong to me. You should not. Again, I think this should be something where the public gets to make up their own mind how deep they want to dive. And the outlets should get to say, "Hey, this is our non-spoiler review, or this is our spoiler review," and give whatever score they want to give the game, but be able to talk about why without being censored, because that's almost
The
using it as a
unfortunate
censor.
the unfortunate side effect of that is people, as proven by this game, are shit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you gave them that information, they would have destroyed potentially that experience for a lot of people.
Except for the fact that it had already leaked months prior, and it was all out there
But,
already.
yeah, but I mean,
I
it's
mean, that became a
different, right?
conscious
Yeah, you
decision
had
on.
to avoid the leaks, right? But I mean, leaks generally aren't quite as propagated as something that's going to be in a review, right? People feel more okay, even people who are conscious of spoilers and are decently generally good people and aren't just people trying to cause people to be pissed off all the time, feel more comfortable talking about something that's in an official review. So if it's in a review, which is basically a PR release for all intents and purposes, then it's just a different level. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. It's shady, and there should have been a second in there, due to non-disclosure. There's elements of this game that we're not allowed to talk about in the review, but our final assessment includes our assessment of that content, or something like that. If
Right,
they could have
right.
said that at least, or something like that, that's probably a better outcome. Because yeah, I mean, anyone go into a game like this assuming there wasn't a twist. I mean, I always assumed there would be at least one major twist in the game somewhere. And did I ever think it was going to be that you were going to play as the person they set up as the villain? Well, not before I played the game, but before I got to that part, I thought it was a pretty high probability that we were going to get a perspective shift.
Well, as soon as we played Abby in that first section where you meet Joel,
Right. You're like, they
that
would
was
not have
super
gone to the
telegraphed.
effort of
Right.
making this and all these assets and only for this little short chunk of the game.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's what I was hoping, but sadly, that's not what it turned into. So,
but yeah,
what?
that's a rough one. I mean, I
Is that any different than like I mean we've seen that with like Marvel trailers where there's stuff in a trailer that just not even
Right.
in there.
And that's
Is it
why I
that?
don't care. I don't care so much about that because that was more the first side where they put Joel in doing other characters' lines. I don't care as much about that. There are a lot of people who don't like that type of thing, and I get that, and I don't disagree necessarily. But at the same time, that's not as bad as embargoing someone. So it's basically like using the embargo as a censor.
Oh yeah,
You
the embargo thing is completely. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the other piece.
Yeah,
With
no,
with
yeah, no. I thought
like
about
that's
Marvel movies exactly because they did the same thing with Hulk in Infinity War,
anymore.
where
Yeah.
you saw him in scenes where he wasn't in there, and
mhm.
we saw even Hulkbuster armor scenes that weren't in the final cut of the movie. So, yeah, I mean, it's still not great, but I get that part more than I do the other part. I just hope they don't do that in the future, or they've
And
learned
there were
something
some
from it.
scenes where they heavily implied that Dina, or some ads where they heavily implied that Dina was the one that died. So it was like,
Right.
they did the whole gamut of things,
Yeah.
without actually, yeah. Uh,
Well, that's going to bring us then to final thoughts. I do.
well,
Yeah. Go ahead.
did Dave have any
Oh, Dave,
other thoughts to
what did
add
your
to?
nephew grade it out of 10?
He didn't give
Since
me
he,
a rating out of. He didn't give me a rating out of 10. He
If you
was.
had to get a feeling of what you'd say he would.
I'm assuming it's in between 7 and 8.
okay.
The way he was talking about it, he said, he loved the gameplay, but just like the story, just kind of was like, yeah. And,
What
by the
what
time
a what age? Out of curiosity.
he's like mid 20s now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Grown
yeah,
ass, grown ass man. Got it. I just wanted to
yeah.
double check
We're
there.
he's almost like a nurse, so
Got it.
he's like a responsible adult at this point, just about.
Well, well, then that will bring us to final thoughts. I do want to give a quick shout out to all of our new patrons this week. Thank you so much for subscribing. So thank you, Michael Axe Thompson. Thank you, Eric the Amazing Luna. Thank you, Ramey Dance Commander Becker. And I'm forgetting more, so I will look up the list. And Peter Carrero, thank you. And we'll start final thoughts, and and everyone has their name at the end of the show, so we'll tackle that as well. So thank you all for being a part of supporting the show. Matt, final thoughts for the week.
I really want to see the old guard, so I gotta find a time to get everyone who wants to watch that and sit down and watch it, because I'm only hearing really, really, really good things about it. And
Yeah, I've heard good things about that too.
so yeah,
What are we
I'm not
talking about?
familiar. I'm not familiar with the okay, so there's a Netflix movie. It's kind of the studio sequel to the Hemsworth click flick. What was that? I forget what it was called. Extraction, was it? Is that what it's called? But it's based on apparently a comic IP I'm not familiar with at all, called The Old Guard, where there's a
It's
group
Highlander
of
with guns. It's Highlander with guns. Cut to
basically
the
Highlander
chase.
with guns. Yeah, sorry, it's Highlander with guns. Can I say the fact that there is a trophy in Ghost of Tsushima that's there can be only one? That
Sweet.
that was that is very nice.
But I'm sorry. You can tell us.
No, 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 no,
I was,
that's better than anything I had come up with in my head. So
I was watching Mark like glaze over. So
No, I'm not. I'm not glazing over. I'm reading the chat because there was a flurry of activity. Sorry.
so yeah, but I assumed one of you two would be familiar with the comic source on this, but
Old
apparently not.
guard.
The Old Guard.
I am not on that. But I have heard good things about the movie. The trailer looked great. I saw that and I was like really really interested in it. It's just like I didn't have time yet to watch it. But a couple people at work watched it, and they said it's worthy. They said it was a fun movie.
Oh,
I'm definitely excited for the. Did you hear about the Russos doing a Netflix movie
Oh yeah,
with Ryan
Chris
Gosling
Evans
and
and Ryan
Evans
Gosling. Yeah, Chris Evans, really. Yeah.
doing it as a total spy thriller movie? I'm just like, yeah.
oh no, this is brand new, 2017, Image Comics.
Okay. Yeah.
So no, I have no knowledge of this whatsoever. Now I'm intrigued. Thanks, you've spent more of my time.
Dude, you went
But
down like a YouTube 5 hour rabbit hole. Don't talk to us about time.
oh,
Don't.
it's Greg. It's Greg Rucka. Oh,
We
okay.
forgot about that.
Greg Rucka wrote it. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Okay.
Drogodan says his final thoughts is big bug with Star Trek Online. Things in your personal tab will now cost. They posted they're not sure how to fix it. So if you bought something in the past, now if you want to reclaim it, it will cost again. Community manager said no fix coming. They said they can't fix it. I will have to investigate what that means because that's bad. Because I have a ton of personal stuff on the personal tab, or
Um,
purchase stuff on the personal tab.
what do you mean? No, it's not that they can't fix it. They won't fix it. There's a difference.
Listen, they have a bug, and I'm not joking. This is the most annoying freaking bug I've ever seen in my life. It has forgotten that I have been a VIP member. And what that means is every time I buy, I try to charge currency, it puts a 3-day hold on it to verify that I am a legitimate person to be spending this amount of money, even though I dropped quite a bit of money on that game. Quite a bit of
All right,
money.
that's not cool.
A 3-day
No,
hold when I try to
that's
do anything.
that's crazy.
And
Three
they say
days.
Three
they can't fix it.
Jeez.
3 days in the gaming world, like you completely can forget about a game in that. Like I bet you haven't even remembered to check your Animal Crossing.
Oh, he's
You know,
saying they changed the store database in February, and they said that the old stuff isn't compatible with the new database, and that's the origin of the bug. Well, that sounds like a bug they need to fix.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh shit. That's
That's
That's unacceptable.
yeah,
that's
that's
pretty rough.
not my problem.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is
Jeez.
literally your problem. You fix it.
And Mark Johnson was the other
Wow.
patron I wanted to thank, along with our existing patrons, Regina, Justin, Naomi, and Bobby. So thank you. And thank you to all the subscribers, Drogodan, to the channel, as well as Mr. J Nice. Dave, final thoughts
Sweet.
I'd like to apologize to all of our fans
for
for the
what?
show we just for just the show we just had. I'm sure
Why
this
are
was
you
awful.
apologizing?
I don't know.
He doesn't know what else to do. Just let him get
Oh,
away with it.
all
Dude,
right.
there was a lot of rum in here. I
Oh, I hate you so much for having Chick-fil-A crack lemonade. I hate you.
what's that? They put rum in there? No, because I put rum in it. It was just
You
such a
but the fact that you have it, I hate you. I can't get Chick-fil-A here in the city.
oh really?
Yeah,
Like I
it's
feel
There's
I feel bad, you
there's
know.
one Chick-fil-A in all of Wisconsin.
Are you
Pretty mad.
serious? In Wisconsin?
Yeah. Unless they've spread recently, there's only been one.
They I'll tell you one thing. Like when they were all over like all the COVID stuff, they because you can't go in, any place right now. They doubled up their like lines for like drive-through and like they have like army of people out with like iPads
mm-hmm.
taking orders and stuff like that. I tell you, that's if there's one thing like that company should be in charge of line management anywhere.
If there's one thing that the LDS know how to run, it's a line.
I
It
was
is
not gonna say anything along those lines, but I'll let you do that. So, my final thought: if you pre-order Avengers, I will say that their pre-order strategy is the most confusing, since we're swearing in this part of on this version of the show. It is the most confusing fucking thing I've ever seen.
Wow,
They
you went there.
have,
There's been some pretty bad ones, so this has got to be really.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Now
you,
I'm interested.
it looks like the lesser costing one has more stuff than the one that costs more. And it's not clear if you buy the higher one if you get everything that's in the lower one. It seems like they're completely separate things, and there's no clarification anywhere. In fact, there's no clarification on what these pre-order MacGuffins you get are or do in the game, and so I can't make a qualitative decision if the one that looks like you get more of is better than the one you get less of, or if it's actually the other way around. So it's really confusing. Just go on the PlayStation Store and look, and you'll see that there's one for $69.99 that has 1,000 gold pieces to upgrade stuff, and then there's one for $79.99 that gets you a bunch of stuff but no gold pieces. And so it's
I'm
like,
out.
wouldn't you?
I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
but
You've just convinced me to not buy the game.
no, you should still buy the game. Just order the base one, and you won't have this problem. I'm just trying to figure out the
No,
collector's edition ones. Because
no.
listen, man,
There's like you need like gold and everything. Nope. Done. I'm
no,
out.
no, no.
I'm
It's
out.
in game. There's no the microtransactions that are or transactions that are in the game are cosmetic only. They have already stated this, so there is no pay to win, no pay to get ahead. That's all stuff you just earn in the game naturally. Apparently, this is Avengers, and so they did do a deep dive this week on the 6 playable characters, which are Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man, Kamala, which is Ms. Marvel. Who am I forgetting?
Bulk.
Hulk, and the 6th one is.
Did you say Captain America?
Did I say Captain America?
I don't think you did.
Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, Thor,
Ms. Marvel.
Marvel.
and Kamala, Ms. Marvel. So yeah, Cap was the last one. And I will say that throwing Cap shield is pretty badass because you can actually ricochet it off multiple targets, and then as it comes back, you can kick it to hit all of them again, which is pretty badass.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
It is pretty badass. So I'm actually like looking forward to this. And normally I'm not a Cap player, but that shield thing's got me pretty interested. Hulk apparently can deform the landscape by ripping things up and turning them into weapons, which is pretty interesting. As well as grabbing bad guys and then using them as weapons, kind of a la that scene in the first Avengers with Loki. So that's pretty funny. And
I miss Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
yeah, well, it reminds me very much of Hulk Ultimate Destruction, so I'm kind of jazzed about that. And the fact that I can be Mr. Fix It is still pretty high up there.
You're bringing me back. You're bringing me back. I might have
Yeah.
to look at it.
I said just buy the base one and then you don't have to worry about any of this nonsense. But the reason I was bringing up the pre-orders in the first place is that if you pre-order, the beta starts August 7th. I will be playing. Happy to play with any and everybody who wants to play in the beta. They have not yet announced, I don't think, who the characters are in the beta. I think that we only get 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, interested to check that out. So that's coming up. That will bring us to the end of the show where we impart a sage piece of wisdom on you until next. Oh, the other half of my last thought is if you do want to stay and join us, we are doing another podcast directly after this one. It is our PS5 preview. It will be available to all our patrons on our Patreon page, but it will be locked out to everybody else unless you're here live. So do feel free to stay with us and you can get access to content you normally wouldn't see. And we're going to go through the PS5 preview and all of the trailers that go along with that. So that should be fun. But that brings us to the final portion of the show, the very end of the show, where we impart a sage piece of advice to carry you through to the next time we meet. Matt.
He's already.
He's already making the face. That's the best part.
Well, because these are not good.
Matt, why is Peter Pan always flying?
Oh, God.
I don't know. Why is Peter Pan always flying?
Because he never lands.
I can actually go along with that one.
My kid's telling his first joke.
I think did we already cover this? Maybe.
No. I think we covered his first pun,
Oh,
Yes, first pun we did. Yes.
right? But now he's got his first joke that he brought home from school.
and
Oh
it
dear.
was.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Banana.
Oh Lord. Banana who?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Until next week, game on.
Hold
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana?
on. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Except he really commits to it, and it takes him like 15 bananas to get the orange.
Wow.
I kind of admire his tenacity, though. Like-
Dedication, man. Dedication.
He goes all the way with it.
So don't forget, we'll be right back. And until next time, game on.
I figured
Yeah.
Mike would appreciate that because it was really annoyingly bad.
Yeah, I did.
Later.